Well, hello and welcome. We are here for the finale, week 8 of season 3 of the WTRL Zwift Racing League. We've got an absolute banger on tonight. A lap around the Surrey Hills, 46k. Anna Russell, they're already out on course. We want to get down to the action. I think tonight's going to be, well, one to remember. It's going to be a pretty tough one.
Yeah, there's nothing to lose for people out there. Last race of the season. So hugely tough race. I think the women are on their first climb. They go up Fox Hill first and they hit a bunch of other climbs after that. And it's just going to be brutal. New power up too, which I'll talk about once we start seeing the racing. But yeah, it's going to be a good one. I think I've got it just watching a lot of the Giro d'Italia. I've seen a lot of tactics that I think would play out well on a course like tonight.
Yeah, you've got Giro fever. I've got it too, which means sleep deprivation for our time zone because it goes until the crazy hours of the morning. So we're down with the women there on the climb now. There's 3 climbs out there today for the A's, but Anna actually a bit of a sneaky 4th climb because the lead-in means that they actually go up over Fox Hill in the lead-in as well as when they're actually in the racing segment. So it's a pretty tough one.
Yeah, and not only that, they actually have Box Hill, which doesn't count for anything because they don't actually get any sort of time segments on their one. They'll get a power up the top, but it's not a time segment. You can see that it's sort of the 3rd climb along. So a little bit devastating, really. You've got 5 climbs in this course, one of which doesn't count, which is just so brutal. But yeah, looking at Fox Hill, obviously doing it twice, you'll have a fastest time segment on one of the times. So will it be the first lap where everyone's fresh, or will it be the sort of last time they go up where people are gunning for the win, or are people just going to be too tired? You can already see it stringing out here, watching the B category women. Some familiar names out there. So it's good to see some of our sprinters getting amongst the climbs.
Yeah, so they can get that fastest through segment the first or the second time up, but they do need to do that just one or the other. Isn't it interesting that Box Hill isn't counted as a KOM? I tell you what, as a sprinter, I'd have a very different tactic for this race than if I was a climber, and that would be to go absolutely flat chat, knowing I would explode, but seeing how much damage I could do along the way. Do you reckon we've got any kamikazes out there, Anna? Because this is definitely not a course for everybody.
No, I mean, one thing people can take heart with is that the climbs aren't super long. So you're sort of looking at maybe about a max of between 5 to 6 kilometers. So they're not really long climbs. You know, you're not heading up epic climb. You're not going to be out there on the climb for half an hour. So it is going to be some people who might have that stronger sort of 5 to 10 minute power could be doing pretty well. But we are seeing a lot of gaps here forming. One strategy I would love to see, and is what I've been seeing a little bit in the Giro, and maybe you can touch on it too, Katie, is the satellite attack. So I've never actually heard this term before. I actually heard it on the Lantern Rouge podcast. And it's where a teammate would go up the road, attack on a climb like this, get away, just so their teammates don't have to work and they don't have to do any of the chasing, and they tire out the chasing riders behind. And then once they catch up, that rider can just drop off the back. So I like that one.
It's one of my favourites, I've got to say. And actually, over the weekend, we had the first round of the NRS, the National Racing Series in Australia. We had a lot of Kiwis on board too there. In fact, Ollie Cooper won the men's, and he was incredibly impressive, Anna. But we saw a whole lot of that, like a whole lot of, no, I wouldn't call it needlessly attacking, because you knew what they were doing, but you knew that they themselves very unlikely to win, but just the sheer act of them attacking made everybody else respond, because on the kind of courses that these are, you can't really let anything go. And so I think on this kind of course in particular, it is a very robust one. And none of the teams will have 6 riders who are super comfortable on the climbs. And so I do think that riders who are kind of suited to shorter distances or more sprinty riders, power riders, could do a lot of damage, because, as you mentioned, the climbs aren't that long. So it is quite within the realm of possibility that a more sprint-based rider could hang on for 5 minutes up one of these climbs and do a whole lot of damage. So, it's a bit of an interesting tactic, isn't it? Let's take a quick look at the standings here so we get a bit of an idea of tactics that might be at play. On the top of the table and in a maybe unsaleable position here is TBR Smile On, who've done sensationally this season. Some really kind of advanced tactics, which has been pretty cool. Zed Sunreal in second, the Bam Babes in third ahead of the Bombshells, followed by the Fiery Kittens, We Race for Cake and Phenomenal. It's been a pretty tight group amongst these races this season, Anna. In fact, we've had a bit of to and froing in the overall and some not surprise results, but some real turnarounds, especially in the team's time trial. So I do think that there's nobody sitting in here tonight thinking, it's the final one, no pressure. In fact, I think individual riders, even if they don't think their team can win overall, I think they're still going for the glory of the individual win, or even the first across the line at the finish is also another one that they'll be aiming for.
Just looking at something, playing out while you were going through those points is Marlene from We Race for Cake. There's actually been someone on the socials shouting out to say good luck to her, is pushing off the front, 4 seconds lead now over Kong, who we do know from the Bam Babes very well, Lam Kong. She is pushing about 5.2. We've got the Bam Babes 1, 2, 3, 4 stacked up right behind her. So they're obviously pushing. This is kind of that little tactic I said, make a little effort. One thing I want to note is we should have a look at what this first time up Foxhill looks like, because this is going to be the finish line for the A and B riders. C and D, different course. They'll be finishing at the bottom of the Leith Hill descent. But looking here, this is where it's really interesting. This is where I think, and I don't think they'll have power-ups at the moment from the way this course started, but this is where you could drop an anvil, is on that little downhill. So it went down to about -4. Drop the anvil there, get a huge ton of momentum, and start a sprint. Look, the gradient's only 2%. You can see that finish line arch just in the distance. So you could get a good gap here, and I think that could be perfect. And this time around, you could pick up a little anvil, and if she picks up that anvil, 6 seconds now she's got on Kong, she could extend that gap, and this could be that satellite strategy I was talking about before.
Ooh, I've loved watching Lam Kong race over the last couple of seasons. She has just been an absolute cracker. I've also been really impressed with Smile On, but they look to be on a bit of the back foot. They've got Lucy up there. Do you remember when we were racing around Richmond that Lucy made an absolute cracker on the first lap to get the fastest through segment time and accrue a whole heap of points for the team? She is always on early duty. She's got a teammate up there. I think you have all their nicknames, don't you, Anna? They send them through so we can
I do, yes.
Figure
I did
out
get those today.
but I think it's Know Your Limits Lucy,
later.
unless she's changed her her nickname. Know Your Limits Lucy has been really known
new names.
for that. New names.
New
Okay,
names
push
tonight.
your limits,
Okay.
Lucy. Goodness. All right.
Here we go.
We better
We've
go
gone
through
with,
these before we get too deep into this.
It's going to make you feel hungry, though. Okay, we've got Captain Tiramisu Tess, Sticky Date Pudding Sarah, Kugelpuff Carolyn. I might have to ask someone on the socials to tell me what a Kugelpuff is. Lemon Slice Linda, Mudcake Monique, Linzer Biscuit Lucy. I don't know what a Linzer Biscuit is either. And their DS is Key Lime Pie Kimberly. Loving that. That's great.
Well, key lime Kimberly is a good one to have in the DS seat. She's got a pretty good brain on her. That lady, it's a shame she's not racing. She's been a bit injured this season, but she will get there, a bit sick. She will come back, but great to have her in the DS seat in the meantime. They're in the power tuck. This hasn't been made illegal yet in the Zwift world, Anna. I reckon they're pretty grateful for that at this point in time. It does raise the very valid point that this is such a tough course that any single moment they can get to actually rest and recover the legs is very important that they take, because cumulatively this is going to be a tough race. They're expected to be out there for over an hour and a half, which is by far the longest race in the season. So a good one to finish off with. But look at that. So Gokya Paul with 59k an hour, but this this bunch here, 76, 75, 76. What a massive difference it makes to be in a bunch going down here. So it's totally a safety in numbers kind of course.
Yeah, they've got to be careful though, because Marlene here, if she sort of has any gap, we could see she was very strong on that first time up Fox Hill. If she has any kind of a gap coming into Leith, which will come up very quickly as climb number 2, it's a bit dangerous to just sort of leave her hanging there too long. I didn't see, it looks like they're going to make touch now, but look, she's doing a little counter here, up to 7 watts a kg was Marlene as that group caught on. So I think she was just worried there she was going to get dropped off the back. Valid concern when you've got a bunch catching you. So she knows the game, obviously. I didn't see any anvils dropping down there unless I missed it. So everyone would have got a power up at the top of Fox Hill. So maybe a whole lot of feathers could be the case. And maybe they're just saving them, because we've got anvil, feather and truck tonight. So anvil's a new one. I've never seen it in game. I didn't actually do a whole lot of whiteboarding on it because it was actually pretty simple, as you just basically become a bit heavier for 30 seconds. So it didn't require a lot of analysis.
Yeah. Look, I've got to say that's not necessarily a power up I've ever wanted in real life. But good on the climbers. It'll be a very good one for the climbers to get over the top if they do have that anvil. It'll make a lot of difference going down the other side. That is the smart thing about in game. Oh, that's possibly a mistake. Dare I say, to drop an anvil up the climb.
Gosh,
It's like
terrible.
a climber trying to stay, trying to sit in a sprinter's saddle up a climb, which is definitely not something I would recommend. So that was a bit of a mistake. Is that Margot? I think that is Margot. Oh, Anna, Margot, you've got the legs. Don't do it to yourself. She has been sensational this season. She's from a running background. She's doing a master's in physiotherapy. She's, one of those pretty much an overachiever in life, I would summarize her as. And she's been sensational, but I think that was perhaps an overactive slip of the finger onto that power up button. So she's still there. It didn't damage her, and I'm glad she's not doing it on the 9% mark. But, you've got to be careful with those power ups.
Yeah, that's dropping an anvil on an uphill is just, it's like dropping a feather on a downhill. It's just adding difficulty that you don't need on this kind of a climb. Already I'm seeing Marlene moving to the front again for AHDRL We Race for Cake. Just as I say that though, touch moving back. But looks like they might have come in with a little bit of a strategy here, this team, to really just start pushing the pace. I can already see they've isolated Z-Suns. There's only one Z-Sun rider, I believe, in that main group. That is Margot, of course. And then behind them is some of the TBR Smile on, but it does look like the AHDRL team has done well. These two have dropped, but may look like they're actually catching up. That is a sprint to catch up. That is gapping that rider behind. So it is because you've got a Bam Babes and a Bombshell. So they may be dressed the same. Don't get it wrong. They're not on the same team.
No, I think that might be Carol Welsh. We've seen a bit of her over the last couple of weeks with some pretty good legs. And I guess it gets to a point, they're kind of, let's call them satellite teammates. They're not on the same team here, but they do come from the same family of it going on. And, and I think to a degree that Carol was probably happy to work with Gokyapur rather than just attack her. Wasn't working, jumped across. This course must be too easy for that rider. Comments coming in about the anvil. Yes, touche,
oh, no.
indeed.
Oh wow, it's I think it is. I mean, it was Margot who looked like she dropped that, and that is totally right. She was probably just dropping it and going, "Look how strong I am. I can still stay with you guys, even though I'm heavier on the uphill." So, good. Maybe some intimidation tactics. I like that. These are some great comments. The socials are.
Like if that's a power move, Anna, I'm impressed another level with Margot. But we don't necessarily know what they look like aside from a few social pics, and we don't get to know a lot of these riders personally because we might ride with them on Zwift, but we don't really get to meet them in real life too often. But I've put Margot, I've put a very kind and gentle-natured character onto her shoulders. And I'm not sure why I think that. That was kind of my thing. If this was a power move from her to chuck that out and be like, hey, come catch me, then, maybe I mischaracterized that because that's pretty badass, I got to say.
Oh, that was awesome. Really
Can I
good.
say that on air?
I was just going to say, badass, totally. Yeah, you can say that. The chat is going off. It's very, very good chat happening over on YouTube as we head over to what's happening in the men's race because they will be out on course and I'm sure hitting some of these brutal climbs already as the women are going up Leith Hill. And here we are. Looks like, whoa, this is strung out. They're on that first climb. It looks like Fox Hill, first time up, and this is pushing very, very hard as Aero on the front, Cutler, O'Brien,
Wow.
Sam Lindsay though. Don't lose sight of the fact there's a black jersey amongst all those Australian ones, and that's Sam Lindsay. But Aero has come in with a strategy.
Well, Aero has their cracker team today because Mark O'Brien, I'm going to say, and Sam Hill in particular, are two of Australia's best domestic racers who arguably Sam Hill should be. If he's not winning, he'll be edging toward the win of Zwift Academy this year, I reckon. So he is a very impressive rider. His brother also races, and we've had the pleasure in Australia of watching them develop through the sport with quite a lot of pizzazz. And Mark O'Brien is the first rider that you pick on any kind of virtual team. If you were picking one for any competition, Mark O'Brien is the one that I would choose for that. Now, something that you will notice tonight, Anna, is that Evo is tonight #Evo for Peter, and that is in support of one of their riders, Peter Van Mol, and he was hit by a car while he was out riding, and thankfully he did survive the accident, but it will be life-changing for him, and the Evo crew just wanted to throw their support behind him because it is a pretty tough time, not only for him, but for the entire community coming to grips with that. So a very big shout out to Peter and to all of the Evo crew who are riding for him tonight.
Yeah, you can see that in the hashtag behind their names. You've got Ben Houston. You can just see there in the distance, just in that pink Tron with the pink kit, that Evo magenta, which we all love. And he's got the hashtag Evo for Peter. So we'll be seeing a few of those out. So if any of the riders and upcoming races are listening and you see those Evo riders out, just give them a little ride on or a little comment because they're obviously still feeling probably a lot of pain. And so that always makes a big difference when they're out there racing. So great to see they're racing for Peter.
Well, I think sometimes those little motivations can get you just while you're suffering over those climbs. I think that can actually really help along the way. Yeah, speaking of, look at Houston motoring across. Jeepers.
Ooh.
If that heart rate is correct, then somebody get a defibrillator. He is certainly pushing hard to jump across. He's got a good mate in Ed Morgan, though, to get across. I mean, good Deepak buddy to bridge that gap across. But look at how much orange is happening when they're only, just cresting the climb, but at the 1% incline mark. So they're all working pretty hard. I feel like they amongst themselves know that if they can force a fairly pivotal break across the top here, it could really make the difference. And that, as we saw, Anna, was entirely led by Aero, who have gone out there tonight on an absolute mission to blow this apart. They now form 50% of that break. So far, so good, I would say.
Yeah, but look who else is in that break. What is it? About 4 Aero riders and 3 DPAC riders? Oof, that's going to be a head-on-head battle between these two teams. I did just want, an anvil being dropped too, just as we see Campagnoni there dropping the anvil and bridge that gap nice and fast. So anvil and a super tuck. Now that's a good combination. That's what this whole crew is doing. That's a good way to see it. That's a great strategy. Look how far those guys are moving ahead with that strategy. Oof. And it looks like it's the Aero team again pushing there. So nice job. We can just see Morgan, one of the DPAC riders in the chase group, asking some of the others to do a pull, asking Houston there to do a pull. So they're trying to come together. But unfortunately, they've got 2 riders chasing against this bigger group, which will just be going faster, particularly with all those Evos being dropped. All those anvils being dropped.
And we haven't been covering the A's every week. We've been jumping around the community leagues, which has been sensational to see some of the talent across the board all the way down into the Ds and across the community. But what I'm noticing about Aero this evening is they've absolutely brought their A team. They've got both of the Hill brothers in there, both Sam and Ben. And I've got to say they're 2 pretty formidable riders. On top of that, Mark O'Brien, Liam White is another absolute hitter. Torben Partridge Madsen lit up the NRS on the weekend, like he'd had an extra coffee before he started. And Tully Lister, who runs the whole Aero mob. So they have turned out with absolute guns on their team. They are on a mission tonight. You don't start with a team like that unless there's something on the table to achieve. Looking at that start list now, it doesn't surprise me that this is happening. But, geez, it's been very, very effective, hasn't it, so far? Honestly, if they keep pushing this, Anna, I can't see anybody being able to get back on.
Yeah, I don't think that group's going to get back on. 13 seconds back already. They're closer to the group behind than they are to this group. So I think this is where our winners and all our points will be coming from, is this lead group. I just want to ask, Sam Hill, that's not the mountain biker Sam Hill, is it?
No, he is not. It's a different Sam Hill, but it's a good, appears to be a very successful name in Australian cycling, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, yes, no, sure. It is. But
it's not.
I am seeing here as well, this whole front group is riding Tron bikes. It's there's one climbing specific bike from one of the Aero riders. Really surprised again that everyone always kind of goes for the safe option of the Tron. There's been a lot of chit chat on the WTRL Facebook page about what kind of bikes to select. I threw in a little comment that as long as it matched the kit, I didn't really care. But I think people should be selecting some climbing bikes. We are just seeing a couple of riders dropping off the back here. Your mate Ben Hill just drifting off there. So maybe that first climb was just a little bit too hot.
Well, he is Ben Hill. He's had some big setbacks in the last couple of years, but he has rallied beyond belief to get back on the bike and back to big competition. He's a new father. His wife is an ex-individual pursuit world champion, not too dissimilar to New Zealand's Sarah Ulmer. He comes from a very successful house of cycling, and I know that his wife, Beck, hits those power-ups for him when it comes to some of the tougher riders. Did you see that comment jump up there, Anna? Yeah. Well, this sucks.
Yeah,
that's rather.
I think a lot of
and articulate all in one.
It is. I mean, if you've been dropped and then you're in this chase group and there's no way you're going to catch back onto that massive aero attack, then it is going to suck. You can't put it any nicer way. It's going to be a long day in the saddle up a lot of climbs. So looking at the women now, I think they might still be on Leith Hill because it just does kick up here at the end. So Leith's a bit of a hard one because it starts off relatively easy, but the actual QOM doesn't start for a couple of K into the climbing. And then you hit this 11, 12% with about sort of a kilometre to go. It's just really brutal. So you can just see here Sky from Bam Babes going off the front, looking pretty strong, but I don't know. It's not a hot pace. Everyone seems to be staying somewhat together. Little pushes off the front, but I'm not seeing any concerted attacks.
Well, look at these vastly divergent tactics happening between the men and the women. The women, it's very much a race of attrition, but for the men, Aero just destroyed that group out of the gate, pretty much out of the pen, and decided their fate. Bit of a different story going on here, though. The groups are a bit. Malene continues to be in a pretty good position. Now, she's got a pretty solid 5-minute and a pretty solid 20 minutes. So she would be a very good breakaway companion. She's certainly not the type of rider that you would let go solo, because I think that would be a very big risk. But she's found herself in a bit of a bigger group here, and that could, well, I think normally, Anna, you say 15 seconds, but I reckon if you go over the top of any of these climbs with even 5 seconds, then it's a pretty tough one to have to chase back over the top. And unless you're in a bunch with that momentum, 5 seconds could really be enough to really stretch out.
Yeah, so that 15 seconds is really that kind of on the flat with a bunch chasing you. Whereas in a race like this, when you've got ones or twos chasing you, any gap you could stay away, because the two behind may clump up and sort of ride. Marlene again, so she went off on the first climb. So obviously good climber. I'm loving this. So she's just popped over the front. If she has an anvil, this could make the difference. At 8 seconds, like we saw before, super tuck plus anvil equals a lot of speed. So if she's got that combination, that 8 to 10 seconds could blow out fairly quickly. So it'll be interesting to see what she ends up playing here. Couple behind, and then it's a little bit spread out. I mean, just go for the attack, I reckon. Do an Egan Bernal here. Just you got the gap, go right through to the finish line.
Oh my gosh, you totally have Giro fever, don't you? But at least we do have pictures here, unlike the Giro last night. So it's to follow along. We're going to duck back to the men in a second, but this is just that chasing group from the women. Oh, look who's on the move, Anna. Well, we're looking at Tim Cutler now, but for a second we were looking at Sam Lindsay, 4 seconds behind.
Wow, this is I like the way Aero is racing. I always like positive racing. I like it when people come out, they've got a strategy and they just go all in, because what's the risk? That you blow up? Well, who cares? It's more interesting for people watching. It's more interesting for the race. Just do something exciting. And I love what Aero's done here. They've really put Deepak on the back foot, and Deepak is leading this category by quite a large margin, but they've been totally isolated. So you've got Lindsay chasing this down pretty hard, but unfortunately for Lindsay, he's got Sam Hill. He's just going to pull up Sam Hill with him. So what does he do? Does he wait up a little bit for Campagnoni to catch up, and maybe the two of them can work together? Does he hope that Cutler off the front can't really stay away, although he's pushing huge numbers? I mean, what do you kind of do here? Sam is just really left with no options, which is great tactics from Aero.
What do you do here? You cry, I think, is what you do here. This is really good tactics from Aero. I love it. And I absolutely support what you said insofar as you've got to be in it to win it. And I love brave tactics. No, they don't always work, but I think it is always pretty entertaining. And that, at the end of the day, animating the race, there's a whole lot of value in that, regardless of whether you can hold on to the end or not. So Tim Cutler's doing a pretty good job. I reckon Tim Cutler might have been, the intention of his attack might have been a bit of a satellite attack like you were talking about before. But I'm not sure that he'll actually get reeled back very quickly because it's all on Sam Lindsay. And
Mm.
Cutler is just pumping out these watts. Let's take a quick look at the segment points
Oh,
so far because Deepak are on top by virtue of the fastest through segment as well. Aero in second, Deepak third, fourth, and fifth. But I don't think this gives a very good representation of where they are on the road, and there's a lot of points left to gain. But it actually is a good reminder that it isn't who is where on the road. It's actually about getting those points. It is a points race. So both Deepak and Aero have 4 each in that top 9. And then the Evo for Peter with Ben Houston has got some points on the board there too. So this gap is not coming down at all, Anna. Sam Lindsay is now 9 seconds back. This is
wow.
looking like it
Yeah.
might be the move of the day. And of course,
I think the
Sam
only
Hill doesn't have to
option.
chase it all.
No, so Sam Hill's sitting pretty here, but I think there is another option here for Sam Lindsay. So there's 2 Sams there chasing. Is coming into this really steep portion, which is sort of about now around where all the brick area is on the left-hand side of the road. They can still have Cutler in sight. So that's really important. Another reason maybe not to use the Tron is it's really easy to see when they're up the road. But what Sam could do is put in an attack around this area and drop Sam Hill, then it becomes a sort of one-on-one match between Cutler and Lindsay for the rest of the race. So if I was Sam Lindsay, that's kind of what I'd do. Just put in a huge fire attack now and try and drop Sam Hill off the back.
Yeah, I see where you're going with that. I think given Sam Hill's credentials and his current form, and the fact that he's been able to sit on, I think that would be a big ask for Sam Lindsay to be able to do that. But again, in the same way that Aero have kind of thrown caution to the wind and thrown it all out there, that's what Deepak have to do now as well because they've been forced into this position. I can't help but think that maybe, Anna, they were caught sleeping a little bit, that they thought it might settle in a little bit more rather than just go from the start line. But the element of surprise is always a big one. Now we're going to jump over to the women because it is all happening. The attacks are on and getting thrown down. Anna, talk us through these segment points because Marlene has got the across the line and the through segment so far.
Yeah, so Marlene, she may have gone early, so that may have been the strategy for her because she is dropping off the back now, was to go for the first Fox Hill and the Leith Hill climbs, which is quite a smart strategy because she obviously dominated. She could have got fastest time segment. We'll have to see the next time they go up Fox, but she could have got that fastest time segment the first time up. And then she did Leith very well and leading over that. So job well done and good team tactics. She is actually from that shows there that AHDRL Amazons, but I think she's actually for We Race for Cake. So doing pretty well from what I can see. Looks like in this main group, though, this has been shredded. You've got Alexander from TBR Smile, and she's leading off the front. You've got Sky from Bam Babes, who we know is a great time trialist. Remember her on the Richmond course? She kept breaking away and kind of solo time trialing off the front. So this part of this course would be great for her. The sort of the flat portion along Richmond Park. And then you've got C Dot. So nice little rap name there for you, Katie. C Dot from the Bam Babes. And they don't really have to do anything. There's 2 of the Bam Babes. They can just have Alexander here push because you got some more Bam Babes behind with M Dot. So you got M Dot and C Dot. Yeah, this is, I don't know how these 3 broke away, but this is good work.
Well, in fact, the Bam Babes have 2 C Dots. They've got Carol Welsh and Kate Braderick. They're racing very well. It looks like they've got an Anna Russell whiteboard out beforehand to look at how they can accrue some points and still use all of their different strengths, which is a pretty cool way to approach this style of racing. But a good example is Lucy Isdale, who is it Lindsay Biscuit? I don't know what a Lindsay Biscuit is, but I need to Google
Not
that.
neither.
Lindsay Biscuit Lucy. She always starts, and I feel like she really motivates the team and gets out there and goes, come on, ladies, we can do this. And then one by one, their other riders come through and really perform. So Sarah Alexander is up there now. We're watching her on the front here. She is in that the green, very distinctive green kit. A lot more trons again, Anna. It really seems like the trons are the flavour of the day.
And it's not like I hate trons. I mean, I do ride one myself in a game, but I think it is a bit of a sort of throwaway easy choice. And I remember getting great tips from the one and only Nathan Guerra on bike selection. And you should be choosing the bike for the key parts of the race. So the key part of the race is not which bike turns out the fastest time. Maybe the Tron's a second faster than the Specialized tarmac. Who cares? What you care about is the key part of the race. And if you believe the key part of the race is where Foxhill kicks up at the end, you need the light bike. If you believe the key part of the race is where it goes downhill and you sprint to the finish, well, then you need some deep dish wheels and a fast bike. So I'm always of the sort of the belief that you need to pick bikes from certain parts of the course. But I did learn that from Nathan Guerra. That's not from myself.
Oh, that's all right. I think we're in the business of borrowing everybody's advice. I quite often borrow Dave Toll's sayings just in everyday life. People think they're very strange. I'll tell him I said that tomorrow. But yes, I think that it is a very good point, because people, depending on your style, you might look at this and say, for me, it's Leith, Keith and Fox. That sounds like a good, like either a pub or an 80s band or something. Leith, Keith and Fox.
So true.
If you think that that's the decisive moments, you'll certainly choose a climbing bike. But if you're a rider who knows they're just going to be hanging on over that section and your element of surprise and attack is going to be on the descents, well, then it is a different thing. And I do think that a lot more thought can be put into bike choice, but the caveat around that is that you are at a high enough level to have the option. And there is not, bearing in mind a lot of our riders won't have the full options of all of those different bikes. Margot Jaquette is a very good example of that. She's pretty new to the world of Zwifting, which you could be fooled given by how impressive she is when she races, but she won't have access to all of the same bikes in the same way others do, because she's only at level 19. So that's another consideration as well. Coffee stop at Box Hill. Anyone? That's from Lucy. So maybe
virtual coffee.
Maybe this is a clue. Maybe they sell Lindsay biscuits in the UK or something like this.
Oh, and we've got a rap name battle going on. So the Bam Babes have got M dot, and then you've got C dot as well. So
C dot.
There is a rap name battle. Love it.
C dots.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That is very funny.
But this is, this is the horrible. I think this is probably the worst climb of the whole race, because it counts for nothing. So it's just a climb that's going to bury your legs, but you're not getting any points at the top. So this is one that I think would just be mentally very, very hard, in my opinion. I do actually really enjoy this climb, but it's a horrible climb that's got no points. So.
You're backpedaling now. Are these like the kind of motivational posters you have hanging up in your bike studio, Anna? Like, this is horrendous, it'll hurt a lot, and it's worth nothing? Is that kind of a catchphrase?
Yeah.
This is very funny. I'm now imagining this whiteboard could be a whiteboard of horrors. Based on that. But remember that this was the climb that was used in the Olympics in London in 2012. It is not an insignificant climb by any stretch of the imagination. It has some flatter and some steeper sections, but more significantly over the top, you have that absolute kicker for a couple of 100 meters afterwards. So this will do a lot of damage. You can certainly drop a lot of riders on this kind of climb. And we're actually seeing that happen now. Some gaps open up. C dot, we gotcha. She is starting to struggle a little bit. C dot, you just got to fight through this section. A group of 3 is much safer than a group of 2 or a solo one. So if these 3 riders can work together, then it will be very difficult to bring this back. It's over a minute now. It would take quite a nasty explosion. And after that beautiful motivational speech from you, Anna, about Box Hill, now it's pelting down on them. So that's just an added bonus.
Oh, and if we were watching the Giro right now, the coverage would stop for the entire rest of the race because there's been a drop of rain. So yeah, but no, all good here. Looks like the rain is coming down, but the images are still coming through, and it could end up becoming a bit of a one-on-one battle here between Alexander and who's with her? Sky? Is it Sky, who is a very, very strong rider from Bam Babes? So they've dropped, it looks like C Dot, Sky's teammate from Bam Babes, and it's just the 2 of these. Similar to what could be happening in the men's race, it looks like those first selections have just absolutely whittled down the field, and it becomes a sort of one-on-one battle between 2 teams, which is really good to see. This is, I'm not seeing breakaways, I'm more seeing just, ruthless, brutal battles going on.
What was Sarah Alexander's nickname again? Can you remind me of that one?
Which one's nickname? Alexander? Sky.
Yeah, Sarah Alexander.
Oh, let's have a look. So I got
she's a level 50 Zwifter. She knows
Alexander. Sticky date pudding. Sticky date pudding.
Oh, well, that's it. I mean, it all makes sense now. For anybody who actually, you know what? I actually didn't know if Brits knew what sticky date pudding was. I thought that was an Aussie New Zealand thing, but maybe not. I do recall I tried when I was quite young to cook it for some of my Dutch teammates, but in my nervousness of wanting to impress them, I added twice the amount of water required for the recipe, and I ended up cooking them sticky date soup instead of sticky date pudding, and I never lived it down. But it is one of the best, yummiest. It's sickly sweet, but gee, it's delicious. So if she's fueled by the sticky date pudding tonight, then that'll be a secret weapon. We're back with the chasing group now. We've actually got 2 M dots. Not just Margot, who I note has actually changed her name to Margot, but Michelle Bond, who is our other M dot.
Nice. And I actually, if you look at that front of the field, they've all come back together again. So it looks like C Dot, Sky, and Alexander are back together. So Sky really pushed on that last little bit and managed to get back in touch, which is good because otherwise she'd be in no man's land between that front group and this group, which is over a minute behind now. So you can see there Sky managed to get back on. Extremely good. But, I mean, these are some huge gaps. And then behind this group, 1:33 back. So huge gaps forming here. And that just shows the difficulty of these hill climbs is you really need that sort of really good 10-minute power, I would say. And if it's just not there, or if you've burnt too many matches on those first 2, these last hills are just going to feel absolutely atrocious.
Well, we've got a solid chase group led by Carolina Strasser. We've seen some brilliant racing from her over the weeks. Not loving the climbs, though. Back to the men, Tim Cutler. He's still out there on his own, but it's just become even more treacherous for Sam Lindsay, who I note is still on the front of the chase break, because he's now got Mark O'Brien as well as Sam Hill to sit on and watch him chase. So this is a very tough day for Sam Lindsay and for APAC. And Aero, well, I think they've just written another chapter in the Zwift Racing Handbook, a bit of a how-to guide.
Yeah, I mean, just a full detonation attack at the beginning on that first climb is what it looked like did it. And yeah, poor Sam Lindsay here. I mean, it's always a I don't know what this would be like in real life. I'd always think it'd just be horrible to be sitting lone rider just amongst teammates that aren't your teammates. I just feel like you get
Usually
picked
there's
on.
a fair bit of gesticulating and swearing that goes on, because even though you know that this is the correct protocol speak, it's still so demoralizing, and it's a tough thing, and it's very hard to keep the chase up, knowing that if you were able to pull that gap down, and bearing in mind it's now out to 31 seconds, but the reality is if Sam Lindsay burns all these matches and is able to pull that back to Cutler, the likelihood is that O'Brien and Sam Hill would want to attack over the top of him. Now,
Yeah.
let's dial this back a bit, Anna, because this is actually a points race, right? It's not who wins, who goes over the line first. It's actually a points race. So if we keep that in mind, it would actually be smarter, although demoralising, it would be smarter for Sam Lindsay to not worry too much, not push the pace at all, and maybe even wait for a couple of teammates to ensure that they're in a better position to get those second place points. Almost give up on the win. I know that's counter to most races' kind of inner desires. What a horrible thing to say. But sometimes tactically it's the way to do it.
Yeah, there's also the fact that there's fastest time segments on a lot of all of these climbs, apart from the one they're on now, which is this Box Hill no points climb. But could you look at, Sam just gets on the Discord with his other teammates and says, look, you guys are so far behind. You guys go for fastest time segments. I'll get on the front and fake pace this crew, make sure that they don't go too hard, and then tell you what time I've done, and then you just need to come through and beat that time. That's, I think, the only option Sam Lindsay has here, being the only rider from his team in this top 4 to be able to do. And I think that would be a way to play it, because then he knows, because I've talked to him about it before, the sticky draft tactic on uphills. He can easily just kind of dial back the pace and they get stuck on him, and they can't sort of get by that easily unless they've really, really pushed the power. So really, I think that's all they've got left to play.
Yeah, well, if we're looking at, and that's good. I mean, it requires good communication, but it's a good tactic. Oh gosh, Mark O'Brien's just attacked them. Sam Lindsay, I feel like he would be making all sorts of cranky noises in his pain cave. There might be a little bit of swearing going on. Sorry, Sam, we feel you. This is not a good position to be in. In saying that, good job, Mark O'Brien. Ripper move, great timing. It was a matter of time. We knew it would happen, but they're only just past the halfway mark. So it's 46 kilometres of racing, 24K in. So it's a pretty early way to do that. And in fact, poor Sam Lindsay may be looking at an attack over the top from Sam Hill as well. And in pursuit of them, they've got Liam White, who's just another teammate from Aero. So it is very hard to imagine how the other teams are keeping super motivated right now because of how these tactics have played out. But you've got to give credit to them, and also give massive credit to Sam Lindsay, because he's in a position where it might be tactically a consideration, or it might be the thing to do to back off and ease up a little bit and just chase those points. But he's been putting out some pretty solid powers. He's definitely not soft pedaling at all. So let's see what he can do through these segments, and perhaps he can get some of those points, as you mentioned, Anna.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the kilometres done now, they're over halfway. So they've hit that third climb. They're heading back now to Keith. So they've gone up Leith. So Keith is kind of the reverse side of that climb. And then they're back to the second time up Fox Hill. So 2 climbs to go. Got to say, for O'Brien, that was a great time to attack. Because that climb has no points, people could be at risk of getting a bit complacent and just sort of rolling over the top and going, who cares if I come first, second, or third? But that could actually indicate a good time to attack with that complacency in the group you're with. So another little tip for those racing in the coming day is that even though there are no points at the top of box, still a good little place to attack. And then you've got this nice sort of super tuck able downhill, got an anvil over there on the top, then you're looking pretty good to keep away. But this is a big chase pack as well. So we've talked a lot about the fronts. There's Cutler, O'Brien, Lindsay, and Hill. But looking here at this chase pack, I mean, they're quite far behind, 1:30. So it's not a big deal that they've got an Aero rider on the front. I don't think they're it's too risky they're going to catch. He's not going to pull up this pack for 1.5 minutes, especially with the speeds they're going at the front. But yeah, big group here as well. Good to note maybe that quite a few points will still come from this group, because best place in this group will be 5th. So you can see here, White, they're not getting any points there, but for the next couple of climbs, they will count. So 5 to 10 places down.
Yeah, and I actually think that it's a respectful thing to roll through in that kind of bunch dynamic. There's no real reason I don't see for White to just sit in and not even tap through. We're not talking about him chasing. There is a big difference between chasing versus, just rolling through and not it being a completely negative experience. So he's done well with that. Look, the team is in a dominant position. So once you go through that, a little bit of etiquette comes into play. So thank you to Liam White for that etiquette. This little kicker is what I was talking about after the KOM on Box Hill. So just another little insult to injury on a non-categorised climb here for these fellas. This can be quite a tough one, and if you don't keep some momentum, it really makes or breaks your speed over the top and for the descent. So it looks like there's not too many gaps, which is good. Just one or two starting to open up. So they'll want to watch that going down the other side. And yes, if there are any anvils available, it's a pretty good time to drop them. It is steep. It is super tuck territory. So let's see if they take the opportunity to rest their legs a little bit.
And good thing to remember that little steep bit of uphill is actually what they're going to hit going downhill on their final climb, which is Fox. So Fox is the reverse of Box. So that little steep up is where they could drop an anvil and open up their sprint when they come to the finish of this race, if they have anything left in their legs. Kate, I am seeing we're getting a bit of stick through the social media that we haven't mentioned any flags or our wonderful, with huge sarcasm dripping there, flag knowledge. So I'd have to say we have a lot of mostly Australian and New Zealand flags at the front of the race. So I think we're fairly safe. We know what countries they've come from.
Yeah. I'm sure there is an unfamiliar flag somewhere. And I kind of dare anybody to make yourself known if you think that you've perhaps got an unfamiliar flag there. And I'll have to give Dave Toll the heads up for America West tomorrow, because we always get ourselves in a little bit of trouble with the flags that we throw out there. And we think we're so accurate, and alas, we rarely are. But there's a lot of Aussie and New Zealand ones here, so that makes it a bit easy. 12%. This is just not a nice part of a course at all. It's to think that they have to go up here and it's just one part of it. I mean, it feels like somebody quite nasty behind the curtains put this one together.
Yeah, I mean, I do look at this course and go, I would love to race this course. I mean, because it is such a just battle of strength, and it becomes at this point a battle of wills. You know, we saw Sky drop off a little bit before. Now we're seeing C-Dot getting gapped a bit. So it just becomes such a mental battle, and that's what I love to see. I mean, they're hitting up now Keith Hill. So they've already gone up the other side of this, being Leith. So Leith is a sort of a very gradual climb, and then it kicks up at the end. This one's sort of shorter, but steeper the whole way. So you can just see on that little map there, we're up to that climb indicated by number 3, so Keith Hill. You can just see, compared to Leith, a lot steeper, shorter, and you're just seeing the effects of that with C-Dot from the Bam Babes dropping off the back now, 4 seconds, and I think that could be curtains for her. I think that could be dropping off that main pack, which is not great. She's got a minute then back to Paul from Bombshells. So, but wait, as I say that, she's just reappeared. It looked like Sky dropped back a little bit for her and just pulled her up that last bit. So that's the benefit of having a teammate there for sure. That was a
Yeah,
great
I mean,
teamwork.
do you think that when they both get back on, they like avatars look at each other and they go, "Bam, babe"? That would work, wouldn't it? Okay, all right. I just cracked the worst joke of the night, but it's after 8 p.m. here, so it goes. Carol and Sky have been working pretty well together. I think that Sarah Alexander has been riding as though she's not outnumbered, even though she is. So she does have to kind of look at what the other two are doing. She doesn't want to get attacked over the top, but I think she's a little bit more dominant. This gap is starting to open up. Sky's back helping Carol, so the pair of them can pace back on together. But that takes a fair bit of pressure physically and mentally off Sarah Alexander to just ride to her own pace up here. Open that gap, put pressure on them, but know that she's in the driver's seat.
Yeah, that was good work there from TBR Smile On. I mean, this is what you got to do when there's three of you, two of them are teammates. We're talking about that. We can see it's been happening in the men's race as well with Aero versus DPAC, just a sole DPAC. So Alexander, great option there, pushing still some really high watts, getting some big gains. And I think, I'm just going to call it, I think she will stay away this time. We know Sky has brought back gaps like this in the past, but the issue the two chasing behind it is they're separated from each other and they're not going to have a good draft benefit over the top. So they've still got about a third of this climb to go, but Alexander attacked at the right part there. Look how much she has gapped Sky, already 9 seconds, 14 back to C dot. So perfect move there. Just really timed that right, I think, on a sort of a hefty part of the course. It's evened off slightly at 7%, slightly from the 12% we saw. But yeah, I mean, already over 10 seconds now back. I think this could be the race now won. I don't want to call it too early, but I will say last week I did get or the week before I was getting just everything right on who I picked for the win. So I might go with that now. I might just say Alexander's going to take this one out.
I like the confidence. If Alexander's riding with half the confidence that you're showing tonight, Anna, then I think she's on a cracker. She does have to contend with Fox at the end, but if nothing else, she's shown that she's got the form. Gokya Paul there, she has been riding solo a little bit today, but pushing pretty hard. I actually love the no helmet style. This hair looks a little bit funky town. I'm going to give her some fashion points to that. We haven't talked a lot about fashion today, Anna. How very unlike you. But I'm quite liking this helmet-free, all purple style she's got going.
Yeah, I do actually quite like that purple bike because often we see so many of the Trons that we don't sort of see these different kinds of bikes, but that looks very nice. That's is that Cannondale? So don't often see that in a game. That is actually stunning because look at that. The bike has got two slightly different shades of purple that match the kit, just really nice. And then the wheels, the DT Swiss, if you don't know, if you select the DT Swiss, they match the color of your bike. So always a great choice in my opinion because it really just finishes it off. White socks, white gloves, a little bit of orange detailing on the shoe that matches the orange detailing on the drink bottle. So it's looking pretty
Everything's
good.
been
I'm liking this.
Yeah, and she's even got a bit of strawberry blonde going on in her bangs, so that also matches. So pretty good day. But I would. Sorry.
Has Zwift's update done a little bit with the avatar faces because that looks a lot more clear than I would usually see in an avatar's face. So that's looking quite good. It's almost got like a little a suffer face. So interesting to see there.
Yes. Well, we're back to Malene now. She has been a huge agitator of the race today. She's earned a lot of points and made a lot of move along the way. She is riding here for We Race for Cake. AHDR are doing a pretty dominant job today, but she does have Michelle Bond with her, who is M. Dot today. She is our incumbent rapper for the evening, M. Michelle Bond. So these two are working together. They're not technically in the same team, but they would know each other from the community. So it's good to see them riding well together. We're going to jump over to the men quickly because Cutler is hurtling over the top here.
Mm.
Like nobody, like ain't nothing gonna break my stride kind of thing. Aero are smashing it, and Tim Cutler is on fire.
And look at that. Lindsay's been dropped. It's devastating to see. Really devastating.
Oh, are you okay,
Lindsay,
Anna? Are you
it's really hard, actually. The part of me that sees the three Aussie flags in front of the Kiwi flag is just sometimes a little bit too hard to take. But
all right?
obviously, Aero is just, they're dominating. I mean, Sam Lindsay's a great rider, and he's just been dropped like a sack of potatoes by those top three. So all credit to them. Credit where credit's due.
He's been arrowed because I think Sam Lindsay, you know, he doesn't go down without a fight. He's also got power numbers that people salivate over. So for him to be put in this position and Aero to get the advantage, it's literally taken three riders to crack him. So he's done a pretty good job. I hope that he can drift back, pick up a few teammates along the way. And finish in a bit of style there. Tim Cutler is romping this away, 48 seconds now over Mark O'Brien. Sam Hill, another 20 adrift. The three of them, you know, will Mark O'Brien wait for Sam Hill? Will they finish together, or is it now kind of the Aero Cup and see who can cross the line first amongst the three of them?
Yeah, I would like a little Aero Cup action because it looks like Sam Hill, he's not too far behind O'Brien there. I mean, I think Cutler's taken this away. They've only got one more climb to go. So definitely think Cutler's taking that. O'Brien's dropping the anvil there. Really good to see. I still haven't kind of figured out the best strategy for the anvil, although if we see a group sort of finishing together near the end of this race, so not someone solo, I do still think strategically dropping it on that little sort of 9% downhill before the finish line could be a good strategic use of that power up. But so far, haven't really seen it being a game changer. It's definitely not a steamroller on those dirt roads. It's an interesting one though. Adds a little bit of flavour.
Yeah, well, now let's take a look at these standings for a second because this is where the points were quite interesting the last time we caught up on them. With fastest through segment, it actually looked like, despite what we were seeing on screen, DPAC had the advantage. Now that has swung around. Tim Cutler has now got the majority of points on 39, but with Mark O'Brien in third, Ben Hill and Sam Hill in fifth and sixth, that will change the tide a little bit there. Fabian Davola and Ed Morgan doing a very good job for DPAC to still be in that top 10. But I don't think it'll quite be enough today. So I reckon it's probably a bit of an Aero Cup now. I mean, that's what they're racing for, almost like bragging rights amongst the group.
Yeah, this is live standings as well.
Woo!
So if we finish right where we are, wow. Okay, so that's Deepak was looking good earlier, but looks like Aero has taken them over, and it's got to be such a real kick in the guts for the Deepak team to see next to Cutler's name two KOM jerseys. Because what does that mean? Fastest time segment. So not only is he
Yes.
gathering up all those first across lines, he's getting the fastest time segments too. I mean, this guy is just absolutely on fire. Like, that is very hard to get. Fastest time segments. When you're alone, you don't have like the huge motivation. You could just be like, oh, I'll roll across and get first across line. He's going for both. I mean, wow, courageous riding from Cutler. Really, really good racing.
Well, if you'd like to feel slightly nauseous, his average watts for this race so far, we're 51 minutes in or 52 minutes in, is 377 watts.
Oh,
But if you want to take out the moments where he's not pedaling down a hill and you normalize it, it's over 400 watts,
whoa.
411 watts. Old mate Tim Cutler is belting out this evening. So it's not incidental. They're not winning because tactically they just threw it out there. Tactically, it was brilliant, but they have shown up with some incredible legs. Indeed, Sam Hill is almost at 400 watts as well in the normalized power range. So these guys They look like they're on pretty good form, and they've certainly brought it out to play tonight.
Yeah, I mean, wow. And doesn't look like Sam Hill will catch O'Brien. It looks like O'Brien's sort of sitting there in second place, 44 seconds back, still really drilling it though. So these guys are still highly motivated, even though they're sort of sitting pretty in first, second, and third. I am seeing in a bit of socials that even though I may not have picked the Tron for this, Eric from Zwift Insider, who is definitely the go-to on all of the bike information, has said that the Tron actually turns in the fastest overall course time, but more importantly, is within 1 second of the fastest rigs on the climbs. So maybe I'll concede. Maybe it is the best bike choice for this course. I always just like seeing some of the different bikes out there in games. We can see Sam Hill riding a different bike to the Tron. Really interesting handlebar setup there. We could see from the front, but that's the S-Works, so not even the Specialized Venge. So maybe a sort of a lower level Zwifter. That is a really weird handlebar setup. Does that look strange to you, or is that just me?
It's also a very weird beard setup, I would say. Am I allowed to say that? I don't know. I feel like I'm saying a lot of I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that tonight. He's only a level 24 Zwifter, so he's been out there and racing a bit, but he's also racing, spending a lot of time IRL racing and training. So probably not as much Zwift experience as you may imagine based on how well he's actually performing. So I reckon that he might give Zwift Academy a crack this year, and he could have a good performance in that. So I always like to see if we can kind of pick from the community leagues a few riders who might step up into that Zwift Academy. And, of course, the Aussies and the Kiwis have had some very good results over the years in being able to step up and get opportunities through that.
Yeah, I have seen a few of the Zwift Academy riders doing pretty well in some of the world tour races overseas. There was actually one of the Aussie ones. Who was that, Kate, who just recently podiumed? Maybe about a month or 6 weeks back. Yes, yeah, very good. He raced with his sister for a while.
Did an incredible job. And, I mean, the good thing about it is it allows people, I think, especially young Aussies and Kiwis who've missed that development program, it offers them a real chance to dream, because when you can see that you can go from winning a Zwift Academy to a top 10 in a world tour race, you know that it's a real pathway. You know that it's not just a handout and there's no token effort about it. But in fact, they can really step up and get some huge opportunities. So it's pretty exciting, I think, for anyone on Zwift, but especially the Aussies and Kiwis who are far away from the traditional development pathways that the Europeans get. But, yeah, maybe even throw the Americans in there with the Aussies and Kiwis in the great power that it could have to hurtle them through that next part of their career. So we're throwing back to the women now, Anna. Sarah Alexander, she has gone solo. You called this early. She's got 40 seconds now inside that final 5 kilometres. Oh, this is actually pretty tight. At the top, Smile on R leading the way. Sarah Alexander responsible for a whole lot of that. But Zed's unreal. I feel like how, based on what we've seen, but isn't that a case of some things happen with points that happen off camera? The Bam Babes sitting in third. The final position may catapult them up a little bit, given that they're currently in second, third and fifth. So this might change a little bit.
Yeah, I think I've called this right with Alexander. She's obviously pulled away significantly now, 40 seconds ahead of Sky and C Dot. So that move was a winning move. Great to see. And I'll call the men's race now. It's going to be Cutler just before you get in there, Kate. So I'll go with my winning ways, and I've called both the men's and women's race correctly, unless he has a little mechanical on the last climb. It looks like that will be the winner of the men's race. And Alexander sitting pretty good here. I mean, this is that little sort of portion in between the top of Keith Hill and the last climb, which is Fox Hill. Quite a short one though. So Fox Hill doesn't go as high as Leith and Keith and a little bit shorter. And like we've seen already, flattens off at the top. So this will be a nice sort of victory lap, if you could call it that, for Alexander. Just I always think that this would be the best kind of position to be in a bike race. I don't know if you've been in this position, Katie, where you're just so far ahead, you can almost just kind of cruise it on into the finish and sit up for the line, put your arms out, take your jacket off, make sure your sponsors are on the front, and really just soak it all in.
Yeah, no. For me, that was a no. I won a few races in my career, but never in this kind of style. It was always somewhat more frenetic at the end. But I tell you who was excellent at this kind of riding was my sister, and she won the Commonwealth Games road race in Melbourne in 2006 so easily that she did get to do a very big victory salute, zip up the jersey, and comfortably roll in. And I did always envy that. I thought at the end of all of my races, I looked like a red hot mess that had been dragged backwards through a bush when I crossed the finish line. But Natalie looked quite composed when she got her gold medal.
Oh, wow. That's a great story. I love that. Wow. I didn't realize your sister was into this crazy sport of bike racing as well. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, she's. I tried to get her to go up Mont Ventoux. I mean, in game with me, and let's just say that she made it very clear that she left that kind of shenanigans behind upon retirement, and I was on my own. So haven't convinced her to do that yet. But I have a big birthday next year, Anna, and I'm a big
Oh,
believer in doing kind of epic adventures on your birthday. So I might see if I can kind of con her into in birthday week going up Ventoux with me. So let's see how I go. I've got a year to work on it.
yeah, you can do it. I'm assuming you're meaning in real life fun too. Yes.
In re- well, I don't think we'll be able to fly over there, Anna, thanks to our dang border controls. So no, I mean I think I'm just going to have to try and convince her to do it on Zwift with me.
Oh no. Oh
It's
man.
sad. It's a bit sad, but it is where we're at.
True, true. We are watching Cut the Hair, my pick for the men's race winner. Um, don't think it's going to be a controversial pick, but there we go. I got it out there. He's just hitting his final climb now. So, will he try and go for a fastest time segment to beat his own fastest time segment? I'm getting called out on my my calling races here by Tom. I'm just going to do it anyway because I just like winning. But yeah, he's looking fantastic. 7 watts a kg. I mean, wow.
I think Tom may be the team director for Evo, the overarching big team director at the moment for them, and so he would be watching eagerly to see how his guys go. And again, thinking of Peter. And I actually forgot to mention it before, Anna, but Peter has done more kilometres on Zwift last year than even Tim Searle, who rode 100
Oh,
kilometres every single day. So that is worth shouting out to. That is an epic, massive achievement. Certainly very motivating for the entire Evo crew. So I reckon that's probably a record that will be tough to break. Houston is the best of them tonight, but look, they're pretty distinctive in their magenta jerseys.
yeah, for sure. Looks like there's two in that kind of, I'd call it the chase pack there. So there it's quite an interesting breakup in those groups in front. There's a couple off the front, Hill and Avola. So Ben Hill's dropped a little bit further behind his brother. But yeah, then this chase group, two Evo riders there, Houston and Morgan, looking really good. Hopefully we could see this group come to the finish, actually, because that will be the tactics I would like to see. It's sort of a bit split up at the front, so it's really just their riding their own races and their own tempo to get to the line. But this group could have some interesting tactics and sprints going on at the top of Fox Hill number 2, where it does flatten off.
Yeah, well, there is points all the way to the end, so there's definitely no uh, there's an incentive to keep sprinting, whether it be for 5th or 10th or 20th. Everything counts and can make a big difference overall. in that aggregate, so they do have to keep racing. But we are watching Tim Cutler here, who has just had an incredible performance, forgetting the fact that he will most likely win this solo by around the minute mark. Just the sheer power numbers that he has put out tonight, it's incredible. He's just put on a fantastic performance. He attacked very early. I deign to say that perhaps it was quite early and maybe it was just to antagonise a little bit. But given the force in which he attacked and the fury, I think that was probably the plan all along. We're trying to figure out now how much he may win by. Anna, do you reckon he'll win by over a minute? Because he's just got to the minute mark with O'Brien. I think he might comfortably roll this one in.
Yeah, look at those watts he's pushing. I mean, this is crazy. Almost actually
and this is at the end
top
of the race.
Yeah, it's gonna. Yeah, it's crazy. It's gonna dip down, and it's just basically got all flat to the line. Wow, what a performance! I mean, O'Brien too, and Hill. I mean, we know Sam Lindsay's a pretty legit racer. They are absolutely wiping the floor with him in the racing tonight. So yeah, all credit. That has been pretty phenomenal. And poor old Sam's getting covered in rain there. I mean, it's not a nice finish to the race for him. But yeah, Aero, well, they're going to totally take this out. I can't see anybody beating them at the moment, especially when you see Cutler's got those fastest time segments. But yeah, we feel for you, Lindsay, there on screen. So it's tough. It's a tough day out in the office when you're getting beaten that badly.
Tim Cutler, Mark O'Brien, Sam Hill and Sam Lindsay have all averaged over 5 watts per kilogram for the duration of this event so far. That makes my legs feel slightly wobbly even saying that. Incredible numbers. They're expected to finish, we've got about 3 minutes left for Tim Cutler. There'll be only those top 4 will be within the 1 hour and 10 minute mark. So they have been a bit of a standout, the 4 of them. It's been a pretty lonely day for a lot of them. Tim Cutler off the front, Sam Lindsay kind of having to chase around the middle. Mark O'Brien and Sam Hill have also spent a lot of time on their own, but I think probably with a wry little smile on their face.
Yeah, for sure. And it seems so the men are just hitting up this last climb. I think the women would have to be almost sort of heading up the last climb at the moment too. So hopefully once we see this very dominating performances of Aero, we could just see what's happening, because it'd be interesting to know. I'm just seeing something come through the socials. There's been some attacks. So we'll see what's happening there. Apparently C-Dot is really going for it. It may have actually bridged a bit of a gap. So once we get images of that, we'll go over there. I can see Julia Hargraves is well into watching it. So she's probably seeing a live stream from one of the riders. But yeah, looking here at O'Brien from Team Aero, popping in to second place. Looks like Jonathan Frater, I'm seeing not having the best day out there. I can see him just on the side there, but there we go. Sam Hill looks like he'll pop over for third. Oh wow, that is first, second, third. We haven't really seen that in quite some time, a dominating performance like that.
And that was a fate that was decided almost in the first couple of kilometres of the race. So that was sensational tactics from them, and commitment to the tactics as well, because when you go that hard that early, if it doesn't go to plan, which it thankfully did, but if it doesn't, it can be very messy and result in a lot of very burnt legs very early. So it's good to see that it did pay off for them. And, to be honest, I'm not sure they'll get away with it again in quite the same way, because I think, aside from the fact that physically they were just sensational.
Oh my gosh.
I think they also caught some of the other teams unawares.
This is crazy. I have not called the right winner here. I called Alexander because she was so far ahead coming into that last climb. She was about 45 seconds ahead. I don't know how this has happened. C-Dot has pushed ahead and taken out that win. We'd have to go back and have a look at how that has happened, because that has pulled through a minute and a half lead. over Alexander. So we'll have to pull back and see how that happened over that last climb, but crazy performance there.
Yeah, big ride from Carol Welsh. And big ride from the Bam Babes. They're sitting third overall in that table, but they've certainly had a lot of the numbers game. They've done really well today. They will take first and third with Carol Welsh, and Sky Talbot looks incumbent to come in third as well. So we're looking at the best of the rest come in here, Anna. They are racing for these points. It ain't over till it's over. Fabian Devola has Ben Hill on his wheel. The Hill brothers have done a bit of damage today, so he probably won't be a welcome passenger. But Hashimoto and Kubo are coming up fast behind them, so they can't afford to jockey at all.
No, this is good. This could be a sprint finish here, and we see opening up there from Deepak. That looks like a Vola just pushing through. That might take it all the way to the line. Little drop of the feather goes up just a bit coming into the finish line. Just 1% drag. I think Avola may have taken that out. Wow, over Ben Hill. That was a great come from behind sprint. Perfectly timed there from Avola, and I think that's where Deepak does have the strength. It's just in those sprint finishes, but a climbing race like tonight, just not quite strong enough. But that was a great finish from that pack.
That was a really good finish. And in fact, when I saw the course and when I saw him climbing so well, I thought this adds another feather in the cap of Fabian Devola, because he is a high power rider who can do some pretty impressive things on those flatter stages. So I think we've kind of seen another side to him tonight, and we can't underestimate that. He wasn't first across the line, but he certainly deserves a highlighter over his name. Of course, we are in the final week of the regular season. We'll go to playoffs after this, and that will be very interesting for all of the teams involved. A couple of teams will get moved up. A couple of teams may get moved down. It's certainly a lot on the line.
Yeah, there is. I mean, I always like the sort of last race of the season, because either it's really tight at the top and teams are sort of battling against each other, or people have nothing to lose and they just go, oh, whatever, let's just try anything. And it almost kind of looks like Aero potentially did that. I mean, I'm not sure where they were sitting overall on our series points. So definitely not first. They could have been third. So they might have just gone, let's just do anything we can, play some crazy tactics and see where it lands us. And it lands them first, second, third. So yeah, last race of the season, always quite a good one. I find the first race is a little bit hedgy. But yeah, last race is looking good. We're looking at the D category at the moment. So West End here from AHDR Drafters doing pretty well, having a little bit of a break over the Zero Dark Dirties, and then a couple of AHDR Drafters just popping in behind. So they're just heading up Keith Hill. They've still got Fox Hill to go after this one, but they've got a long drag ahead of them with Keith Hill, the sort of steep 5 to 7% average for quite a long time. This Keith Leith Hill combination. It's lethal, actually. It's quite lethal. Fox is a bit shorter and sharper, but Leith and Keith, not nice.
Oh, if you didn't get to lethal from Leith, I was going to take you there. So, but you got to. This is the most brutal course I have seen, because you can look at the race, the Innsbruck after party, where they went up the climb and think, oh, yikes, that's nasty. But it's one climb. The fact that they had so many on this is a nasty one. I actually did this as a course recon for Zwift last year, and I had said to them, I know this course, it's not too bad. And I got out there and I thought, that's very selective memory that I have. Thinking that it wasn't too bad. Every time I had another climb, I was like, oh, I'd forgotten about this one. It is very tough when Box Hill and that kicker afterwards don't count, essentially. It is a tough one. The season Ds this evening, they had a slightly shortened course because they didn't, they finished just at the bottom of Keith, so they don't have to challenge and race up Fox, which is, you know, a small consolation, can we say?
Yeah, sorry, I did miss that. Now we're following the Ds, that they don't actually have to go up Fox Hill, so they will finish at the bottom of this climb. So just hearing some great dance music coming over the top there. As we see Rave here. That's why we heard that dance music. I was wondering about that. I thought Nathan was just messing with us a bit on the last broadcast, but no, we've got Rave here. We've got Rave coming through. La Civita from Germany, just ahead of Hawthorne. Well, not just ahead, minute 30 ahead of Hawthorne. So these guys looking very good. Gotta love Rave and gotta love that music.
It is kind of cool that they've got a bit of a dance track attached to them, keep them going, anything to keep them going through this nasty course. This is a pretty good ride. It's a pretty lonely ride though. Look at that gap, a minute and a half back. Rave Dios are leading the way in this div. We've got the Diamonds in second, the Daiquiris in third, Herd of Bilbies, they're your favy, in fourth, CMA Girl Power in fifth. So it is good to see so many teams representing here, and a massive shout out to AHDR, AHDRL, the ladies and the fellas, because they've got so many teams entered across all of the different leagues. It says a lot about their community, and it is very cool that they're doing that.
Yeah, very cool. As these guys, I've just seen some comments come in socials, because what the issue is for the Season Ds is they're not going to get their route badge for the Surrey Hills at the end of the race, because the race finishes in a custom location. So I know I have seen a bit of chatter of a few asking who's going to keep going when the race is finished. I know I said that one time. I was going up Mont Ventoux in Zwift, and there's a race that's called Ventop, or the course, and it finishes halfway up Mont Ventoux. And I was at the start of the race, I was like, yes, I'll carry on, I'll keep doing it, I'll get my route badge. I got to the end and was like, I'm out, see you guys later. I'm so over it. So I thought there'll be a few people that might have said at the start, oh yeah, totally, let's all get together and have a blast for the last ride, and then they'll go, actually no, I'm gonna go to bed.
No, this is a pretty long day anyway. It's 8:45 p.m. in Australia. That must make it about 10:45 in New Zealand, is it, Anna?
That's it, yeah.
That's it. So a little bit later. So this time zone is certainly an evening race. I'm not sure how many people are staying up for extra hours, although it is quite cruel to get so close to a route badge and not quite get it. That might be a little bit of, it depends how nasty it was. If it's nasty enough, they'll do it so that they never have to do it again. They might be scarred off that. But we never know. I mean, for anybody listening who may be part of building season 4, take note, this doesn't appear to have been the most popular one out there today. It has been a tough day. It has been a good day of racing though. In every category, we've seen quite a lot of different tactics. And in fact, indeed, with the ladies here, we're just seeing some really big time gaps and a lot of of essentially time trials going on. She just finished. Absent
the end of the
finish
race.
banner. That's a bit curious, isn't it? Sorry, La Civita, we didn't quite realise that because of the lack of the banner. But Sarah did a great job winning, quite comfortably.
And we're looking at Magawa here from the ZWC Allies, and popping through now to the rest of the D category women's racing. A few of the Bilbies there. Just jetting downhill. It'd be kind of nice having a finish. Oh, visor. Sorry, I just noticed that from Hawthorne there. That's
visor. You're like a dog in a park
that's
that gets
everything. Everything else looks great. The bike to the green of the kit. Green is my favorite color. Green socks, white shoes, white gloves. I mean, it is a white visor, but immediately the visor takes away all points. Everything else about that looks spot on.
Yes, it is a very cool setup, and she's had a good ride today. She just crossed the line there. We can know that now because it's just before that little bridge is where that finish happens, and that's where everybody is stopped by the side as well. So good second place for Carly Hawthorne, also from Rave. They've had a great day, dominating. They'll take the top 3. So they've done a very good job today.
Yeah, just looking at some more of the D riders coming in. This was West End who we were watching before, so about halfway up this Heath Hill climb. So we're looking at Speed Skater just behind. Hussey there from Drafters. So there are a lot of AHDR Drafters out. Zero Dark Dirty is looking pretty good too. I always like that team name. The Numbats, S. Kelly there. A couple of them, a lot of Zero Dark Dirty is actually in the top 10. So they're looking pretty good because they're sitting in second place with the AHDR Drafters doing very well. I mean, with someone who's in the lead, like we've seen with West End, and then you've got Bamford in third, Hussey in fourth. These guys are riding very well together. What kit's that? Is that it's the old school sort of Cipollini kind of kit from a Zero Dark Dirty rider. So obviously not in their dirt kit, but still one that I quite like in game. It's a very sort of flamboyant one.
Yes. Well, I've noticed a Numbat because you're always asking about bilbies and Numbats and whatever. A Numbat is not too dissimilar to a bilby. It is a small little marsupial from memory. Small little ratty kind of looking animal. They're quite cute though, not the way I describe it. But Shane Kelly is a very famous name in Australian cycling. He was the world champion over the 1 kilometre distance. I'm wondering if it's the Shane Kelly. He's certainly got the musculature. If it is, he remains one of Australia's most successful ever track cyclists. So Shane, if it's you, g'day. If it's not, well, it is anyway. Oh, there he is. See, he's kind of cute, isn't he? He's like half rat,
what
half
is that?
possum.
A Numbat?
A Numbat.
Yeah.
Which is different to when
It's
someone
like a
calls
kind
it a
of-
dingbat. I don't know if that's an insult people use in New Zealand.
That's a confused kind of raccoon, isn't it? Weird.
That's a good way to describe it. Yeah, that's probably an apt description of the number.
Okay, there we go. Oh gosh,
He
big
looks cute
screen.
and cuddly
Ooh.
to me.
Does he? Oh man.
Yeah, I think you've got a real aversion to small Australian fluffy animals, Anna, from the sound of it.
I wouldn't describe that as fluffy. No, there's nothing cute, I don't think, about that. But yeah, I'll move on. This kit I've never seen in game. I don't know I've never seen this before. Have you seen it? It's like is it the herd kit? It just looks so different side on with the kind of green fade going on. I've never seen it from the side like that. Great
I
kit.
just noticed, Anna, that at the back it said it herds so good.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And
How
that's
good
just
is it?
really funny.
Oh, I love it.
So that's cool.
Really
There
good.
it
I
is.
might That's fantastic. I might add that to my I've got the list of best new kits in game and just best kits overall, so I might add that to the list. I do like that one. Side on view looked great.
Yeah, that's a great one. These guys have had just as tough a day as the A's and B's. It's a slightly shorter distance for these guys, but it is a long day. So an hour 17 so far and still out on course, remembering that we're watching Rob Westine, who is riding away for the day. He's got about a 20-second gap over Speed Skater from dirt, Zero Dark Dirty. Should I say. So the drafters are on top of this table, Zero Dark Dirty in second, the Dodgers in third, the Nimble Numbats in fourth, Delta in fifth, Dirty Deeds in sixth. So the drafters are at the top of the table. They've got Rob Westide and adding more points to that again. So they will finish this season quite comfortably.
Yeah, for sure. And these guys just hitting that last sort of third of the climb. Looks like it's pretty well wrapped up here for West End of the AHDR drafters. And behind that, it is quite split out. You've got next rider 26 seconds back, the next rider after that, another 35 seconds. So really, really split up here at the top. I don't think there'll be any tight finishes unless there's one between Kelly and Hussey. That still looks like it's a good 20 seconds. So yeah, these guys have sort of just demoed the field and made a bit of a solo uphill time trial.
Well, it looked to me like the only kind of sprint tussle we've had over the top for any points was on Fox with the A's, with Fabian Davola sprinting Ben Hill for those points at the end. But more broadly across all of the racing, we've seen lots of ones and twos. It's been some pretty lonely riding for these guys and girls out on course. We're watching the men's. Of course, it is actually men's mix, so we do have some ladies that do race in this league as well. And it's been really good this season, Anna, to see a lot more women racing in this mixed league as well.
Yeah, it is. It's sort of, I think it was the New York race, one of the really early ones. We saw, as we see B Hall here from the Numbats as well, one of the mixed teams. I remember seeing in the New York race, we had like 3 women in the top 10 of the mixed category. So very, very strong, particularly in some of those divisions like APAC where there wasn't an A women's field. So a few of those A women riders just joined mixed teams and sort of mixed it up with the A men, which was just fantastic to see.
Well, Becky Hall riding for Herd. They've also got Gina White in their team as well. So they've got a number of ladies in the Herd team out there in the Numbats. So big shout out to Becky and to Gina for joining that crew. It has been so great to see them not only competing but absolutely mixing it up and pushing everybody to the limit here. So Josh Strauss we saw for a second, then back to Shane Kelly. But we're now looking at the fella who will take this victory here, Rob Westine. A dominant performance for him, 20 seconds ahead of speed skater behind Shane Bamford, another 25 seconds behind, 45 seconds in total. The anvil being dropped, good time to drop it there.
That was quite good. I mean, pretty far ahead anyway. But yeah, the anvil, yeah, when I did dive into it a little bit to sort of do a touch of analysis, I realized that it really didn't make huge amounts of difference. Although we do see here Speed Skater only 30 seconds back, so going down very fast. Maybe has a bit of a weight advantage over West End from AHDR up ahead of him. 12 seconds. That's, I think West End's figured that out, and he is out of the saddle sprinting to the line at 6 watts a kg. I don't think he's liking that time coming down. Orange numbers though here from Speed Skater. This is going to be right up to the end. I mean, this climb, it goes downhill quick and then it does flatten out. So they're going to have to put out some serious watts. And I think West End could get caught here. 9 seconds back. I mean, it's a custom finish, so I'm not hugely sure how many where they finish. It's just before that bridge, but 8 seconds already. Wow. Okay, he'll have him in his sights
soon. We've got a real race on our hands here, don't we? Speed Skater. It's now down to 8 seconds. He's in the super tuck and he has been moving pretty fast down the hill. But I think that anvil just added a huge amount of speed to him. And once that anvil goes away, you don't then slow down all of a sudden when that goes away. So you keep that momentum. So it's actually useful over a much longer distance than when you actually have it. And I mean, same can be said for the feather going uphill. It just allows you to go a faster speed that you can then maybe hang on to. I'm not sure that he will get there, but he will get very close in the end. It's holding at 8 seconds. Westine has kind of woken up to the fact that he's in hot pursuit now, down to 7 seconds. They're running out of time. Yeah, this is tight.
Yeah, they are running out of time. I mean, it looks like it's about a 37-kilometer race, so just under 2 kilometers to go. We're down to 5 seconds. Speed Skater there is putting in some huge power surges. We're seeing him go from 2.3 up to 4.5. Oof. not sure if he's going to get there. That you could just see him in the background there, kind of emerging from the mist. This is inside 3 seconds between Speed Skater and West End. Not long to go now. They're going to kind of come down this downhill. We'll see a bridge in the distance, and that's where the finish line is. We won't see a finish line, so it's a little bit tricky sometimes for us to know if they have crossed it. But 2 seconds back, I think Speed Skater might have taken this out.
Yes, look at this. This is like a car crash that you can't turn away from. What an incredible comeback from Speed Skater. He was just biding his time over that climb, knowing that if he had a chance back out to 3, hello, yo-yo, where is this finish line? Rob Westine would be begging for it to be sooner than later. Speed Skater with another big acceleration, edges it back down to 2 seconds. This is going to go all the way to the line. Both of the athletes are throwing the kitchen sink at this, but they don't have far left to go, Anna.
No, this is so close. 2 seconds now, and they're almost riding the same kind of watts there. They're really just playing on each other. I have a feeling Speed Skater may take this because I think West End is just absolutely shattered from that climb effort up Keith Hill. But 2 seconds, just kind of hovering. It's not letting it really get back in. I wonder who's got the better sprint, because you'd wonder if West End would just let Speed Skater sort of come on in and then just save his energy and sprint him off at the end. 1 second now down for Speed Skater. They're almost at the bottom of this hill. I mean, he's got to be getting worried now. He's maybe got to just hold it back and do a sprint off with Speed Skater. But if he is actually a Speed Skater, he's probably got some monster quads that could sprint pretty well as well.
Yeah, this is not a good position to be in. Speed Skater out of his seat again, sprinting. We thought Westine had walked away with this, but this is coming up to the finish line.
I think that's it. Just these bridges right there.
Tight.
Oh,
I don't know who got it. Oh my gosh, I don't know who got it.
Oh, wow. I have a feeling
maybe
Speed Skater took it.
Oh, what a close race.
Wow.
In absence of a finishing gantry, we are almost hedging our bets saying that, but I think Speed Skater might have taken that out.
Just headed off. I've headed off to Zwift Power, and Speed Skater took it out over West End. Wow. Wow. Hopefully I'm seeing the right day. I think that looks like that's the finish for them. And wowza. Speed Skater from Eat Dirt. Zero Dark Dirty. Wow. Oh, there we go. Just because I think it's just at the end of that bridge.
Oh.
Yeah. And then you see everyone appear.
Right on the line.
Wow. That was phenomenal.
Oh, wow.
That was great.
What
a way to wrap up the APAC.
For the APAC, for season 3, the end of the regular racing, it's been the D mixed men's that have put on the show for us and thrown something out there. So what an incredible ride there. What a great sprint in the end. Anna, this season started with a flair and excitement that we would expect it to. But I think it's finished even better now from the tactics of Aero in the A-men to the women's on again, off again kind of racing style. And then the Ds. I mean, you kind of can't ask for any more racing, exciting racing than that.
Yeah, that D category finish was phenomenal. I mean, I called it really early with West End, but yeah, just the Speed Skater speed right at that finish line. He just sprinted that perfectly, timed it so well. There were no power-ups either. They'd obviously dropped them all on the down. They probably had the anvils, and yeah, amazing finish. That was great. Loved it.
Yeah, and I think that anvil certainly had a very big impact in changing that result overall. All right, now let's take a look at the results from today, and we can see where everybody ended up. All right, so as they load here, we will have the women first, and that was pretty exciting racing. My goodness me, let's take a look at this. The Women's APAC Division 1. We've got Carol Welsh took out the win ahead of Sarah Alexander. Both sensational rides. Sky Talbot in third. Gokya Paul in fourth with her fabulous haircut and kit on her avatar. Marlene Ellers came in fifth. Michelle Bond in sixth. Carolina Strasser in seventh. Margot Jaquette, I think the biggest find of season 3, coming in eighth. Liz Martin in ninth. And Lucy Isdale, the old Linzer Biscuit Lucy, I'm going to Google that at the end, coming in 10th.
And looking here, we've got Romanov from TZP Lak in first. I think it's the first time we've seen one of the Lak at the top of the podium. Got C. Rice in second, Cuteran in third, Jay Wood from TBR Smile On C's in fourth, Bleg in fifth from Rave, M. Williams from Smile On in sixth, San Diego from the Lak in seventh, Nordstrom from Smile On in eighth, Kay Chan from AHDRL Spin Mafia in ninth, and then the AHDRL Crazy Cakes rounded off with Jay Clark.
All right, let's take a look at the D-Cats. We've got Sarah La Civita, took that fabulous win ahead of her teammate Carly Hawthorne and Carolyn Hirsch, also from Rave. Gee, they had a good day, didn't they? Coming in third. Lorna Jones coming in fourth. Suzanne Lindsay, she was in sixth. Sorry, Matthewson, she was in fifth. Didn't mean to take a pole vault and jump over that one. We have Dowling coming in seventh, Fulton in eighth, Brew in ninth, and Girvan rounding out that top 10.
And looking at the men's A division, what a race from Aero. Look at that, 1, 2, 3 on the podium. Cutler in first, O'Brien in second, Hill in third. Wow, absolute domination. Look at those watts from Cutler, 5.5 watts a kg average, amazing. Sam Lindsay in fourth from DPAC with F. Devola in fifth from DPAC, so they're still doing all right with fourth, fifth. Ben Hill, brother of Sam, in sixth. A. Kubo from ZWC Blast in seventh. Hashimoto for an eighth. Jones from DPAC Elite in ninth. And then Pruitt from Relentless Anarchy in 10th.
Alrighty, what a show they put on, especially Aero with that dominant move early. All right, let's take a look at the Bs. We've got Adam Evans sitting at the top of the table there, Jeff Morton coming in second, Joe Cesars sitting there in third, Adrian Flea in fourth, Mitch Zito coming in fifth. We've got Tom Watanabe coming in sixth. For seventh, we've got Michael Templeton of the Dirty Sprockets. And in eighth, from Aero Press, we've got David Daly. Max Wetherall from TV Gungnir coming in ninth. Mitchell Stewart rounding out that top 10 for the Blowflies.
And in the C category, I've got Pickles for first place for WMZ Chasers. Hitchener from Herd of the Aussie Ants in second, Sullivan, Dirt and Ernie in third, Taylor from the Cruisers in fourth, Yates from the Chasers, WMZ Chasers in fifth, another AHDR Cruisers ride, Keat in sixth, CM-C from Dirt and Ernie in seventh, D. Mayer, also from Dirt and Ernie in eighth, K. Miller from Eat Dirty Calories in ninth, and D. Stork from TBR 46 Tooth in 10th.
Alrighty, well, this is the magic that we just saw happen. Although it looks to me like Rob Westine has been given the win, Anna Russell. This is a turn up. We weren't sure quite what had happened. Speed Skater there is actually Knecht. He is sitting in second there, 0.143 seconds. Tell you what, that was a sprint and a half. Bamford coming in third, Lawson in fourth, Shane Kelly in fifth for the Numbats. The rest of the riders are still coming in. It has been such a long day on course for the D-Cats. The C's and D's a very long day for some of them, but some pretty epic rides to be able to give us such an incredible finale after such a long day on course is nothing to be sniffed at.
Yeah, that's. I mean, like I said, I think I would like to race that course. Maybe ask me halfway through. It is interesting. It's sort of, there probably weren't as many team tactics as I thought. I think it's just a pure climbers race. If you're good at climbing, you break away, you stay away. I mean, that's what we seem to see is just a whole lot of breakaways, a couple little sort of attacks we saw, and a little sprint finish there for some of the minor placings. But yeah, for the majority of the racing, there were some big breakaways that managed to stay away. So good week for the climbers. They would have been absolutely stoked to have that race to finish off their season.
Yes, and probably not as nice a way to finish the season for the sprinters. Alas, you can't please everyone. Anna, it has been a sensational season. Thank you to you and your whiteboard for shepherding us through season 3 and all the tactics involved with that. Of course, a big shout out to Nathan and Martin in the back end who make everything happen and make these broadcasts. So thank you very much, guys. To all of the fans that dial in and give us lots of feedback on social media, thank you for joining us as well. And of course, to the racers, it is incredible. Now, I know a lot of the racers, they can't sit on their laurels yet. They've still got the playoffs coming up, Anna. So they're in a couple of weeks, and that will keep them on their toes. And we will be back for season 4. You'll have to check out WTRL.racing to keep your finger on the pulse of all of that. But in the meantime, Anna, you get out there, earn those badges, and fill that whiteboard up so that when we do come back, you have all the hot tips for us.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's going to be exciting. Already looking forward to the next season. This one's been fantastic.
Unreal. Well, we'll see everybody soon.